My name's Jamie Harrison. This is Matt Adams, and today we are going to be discussing how to find your why or finding your why.
Yeah, finding your why, I think it's big. It's a big thing. It's a big topic, and I think we're probably going to cross over into lots of different things. Maybe not just fitness, primarily fitness, but I think we'll look at how that influences and affects your life in general.
Yeah, we could go down some serious rabbit holes of that question.
Yeah, there's some big.
Let's keep it to fitness to start. We were just discussing before we start the pod. Probably one of the most important things to do
Yeah,
is to find your why, your reasoning, the thing that keeps you going on the days where it just sucks, right? You're
Yeah,
super
yeah.
busy, the kids haven't slept,
yeah,
like you just
works hard.
yeah, just the pressures of life. And then your alarm goes off. And this, we can discuss this as well, but let's say you're a morning trainer ideally, which, if you're a busy professional, busy dad or busy mum, it's probably the best time to
Yeah,
execute at
yeah.
that time before life gets ahead of you. What is the thing that makes you get up on that alarm and gets out of bed and delve into that workout when you don't
Yeah.
want to?
And that's hard because, I mean, everyone's going to have different things at different points. And I know last time we spoke about motivation and discipline. That why embeds both. And I think it's really easy. It's one of them things where I think when you first start any change, it's probably the first 2 weeks are the hardest because you think, oh, I don't really want to do this. It's new, but you've got that motivation of, oh, I've told myself I'm going to do this, so you can use that to get yourself out of bed and get yourself to the gym, or maybe you do your walk in the morning or whatever it may be. Them daily tasks to start off with. After 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, that's when, and we've probably both seen this, is that consistency to stick to the plan drops off because you've lost that initial urge and desire of, I've got this change, it's new, here we go.
Yep.
Now it's like, right, you've got to try and embed them habits, and that is the hardest point. It's probably weeks, I say 5 and 6.
The monotony sets in, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You see a huge shift. And for context, for anyone new that's listening, me and Matt are both health coaches or whatever bracket you want to put us
Yeah.
in within that regard. You're so right. I think it settles in that, okay, shit, this is quite hard.
This is real now.
Yeah, this
I'm
is
committed
real.
to this.
I've been doing the same sort of thing for
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 weeks. And I think the realization sets in which you realize you constantly got to work at it.
Yeah, it's not instant.
You don't get to the end of the 2 weeks and go, okay, well, I've built that mental habit now, so I
Yeah.
don't have to put intent into making sure I do that. Surely I'm just going to feel like I want to do the
Yeah.
workout. I think you quickly come to a realization that actually this is a journey for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I still don't quite enjoy it yet, and I really can't be asked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And it's not straightforward. It's not TikTok reels, is it? It's not
No.
like,
No.
week 1, I'm this person. Week 7, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm Hercules.
Yeah.
It's that sets in actually. And the hardest part is just, I think a lot of times, and I've been guilty of this, you feel like I've made these absolutely cataclysmic changes in my life, and I'm telling everybody, or your partners, your friends, your family, maybe you're not going out drinking as often, maybe you've stopped having that Saturday cheat meal, and you're 7 weeks in the hole, you're thinking, I've got nothing to show for this, because visually, you might not have changed anything.
Yeah.
And that's that tipping point, isn't it? You've got to get so far in to kind of, as soon as you get clients, or even in yourself as well, when you see them visual changes or performance changes, whatever it is, that then becomes a new
Yeah.
carrot on the stick, doesn't it? Like, actually, this thing's working. But it's so hard to keep the compliance of somebody where they're like, week 5, week 6, drop off the wagon, week
Yeah.
7, you
Yeah.
start back, and it's so hard to push that person on.
Yeah, I think naturally when they get to that point, this like for all of us, right? We've tried some stuff, and maybe it hasn't worked for a multitude of reasons. Maybe it wasn't the right thing for us.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the right thing, but our application of it or the discipline to stick to it wasn't there at that time. What happens over time is you start to build just a lack of trust. I think in two things: in the things that are out there in the
Yeah.
industry, but also in yourself. Like, I don't know if I've got, well, my lifestyle's too busy.
Yes.
They might be
Yeah.
able to do it, but I can't. Or actually you start, like, it eats away at your self-confidence enough that you don't trust yourself to ever see anything through.
Yeah.
And so you just end up doing nothing. It's so strange relating that back to the why. You've obviously got the Goggins of the world. It's like, Stay hard, motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a terrible.
It's like David's in the room. He did that.
Yeah,
That was really good.
that was terrible. But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Joy?
yeah.
Like that
It's
is
go. It's every day's go day.
Yeah,
No days off.
Exactly. It's not a question of if, buts, or maybe it's getting done.
Yeah.
And that's how they fuel themselves and the rest of their life. And then on the contrary to that, you got the people that I imagine look at that and just think, what a tosser.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. Because that's, but then why is that?
It usually comes from an internal.
They just can't justify it, can they?
No.
And maybe that's the why. They can't see the why.
It's probably an ego thing. Like he can do. Why can he? I saw a thing, right? We're diversifying here already, but his wife put a post up, or I think she was on a podcast, or I can't remember, and she said he got home on a Friday, and he said to her, "I'm gonna do a 100-mile run tonight. You can either come with me or not. Like I'm doing it." Just randomly.
Yeah.
She said he didn't film it on social media. He didn't record any clips for it. He just went and did it. She said they were up like all night. I can't remember, 15 hours or whatever, in the dead of night, running through the desert. And she just followed him in the car with the taillights on. And he got no content from it. No one in the world would know he did that.
Yeah, but it's just him.
Except from his wife, if she didn't tell the story. Like, and I think a lot of people can't comprehend that level of self-discipline. I mean, even I think maybe that's a bit too much, mate. Like, come on.
But that's like he's creating his own fuel, isn't he?
Yeah.
Literally, like, and I think that's the kind of key thing for stuff like that is that his why is so driven in being an exceptional person. Although he's already proved that by the feats that he's done.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got to. It's like he's running on like uranium.
Yeah.
Dude's
His
nuclear.
why, I think I generally, actually, like, you can say this for many people out there in the industry, like Ross Edgley and people like that as well. Their why, I generally believe, is actually, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah,
why
why
can't I
can't do this?
Now, the issue is relating it back to the people that we work with, like execs or leaders or busy professionals and whatnot. They couldn't get to a Friday and just decide they're going on a 100-mile run. Exactly. It doesn't work like that. So relating it back to the real world, obviously, most of us, if we're going on holiday, you want to get a little bit better shape.
My beach body, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. The old 6-pack on the beach.
Not stellar.
Yeah, long swim shorts, not training a leg
legs,
session.
mate.
And yeah.
Bit of physique competitor, mate. Good calves. That's it.
That's probably a huge motivation for a lot of people that we work with. Age, I think, coming up to either a 40th or a 50th or a 60th birthday, people go, I'm about to turn 50. Like, I've got to sort my shit out here, maybe. But the why is interesting because I always speak about, like, it needs to be more exponential. It needs to become like almost just a part of who you are, like a part of your identity. When people around you or your own family or your children, and when someone asks, tell us about your dad, do they say, do they talk about working out or looking after himself or eating, like, what is your identity? It's something I question about myself as well. What would you say? I don't know if we've ever had this discussion.
Go on.
What's your why?
I think my why is being I was an athletic kid up until about probably, I'd say 10, 11. And then I stopped growing really, and then I grew really fast. So from about ages of 12 to 14, I was a big chunky lad, mate. I was about 5'2" and about 13 stone. And then I remember seeing pictures. I remember looking at myself thinking, like, what? I was quite a fast kid, like, I played football, I swam for the county. Like, I was like, there's all these things, like, I was quite good at stuff. And then I'm like 12, or maybe I'm in 13. Either way, it's like that kind of age where you're kind of going through puberty, things are changing. And I was like, I don't want to be, like, I'm not, there's more to me than there is this. And I kind of knew at that point, and I was like, I don't want to be like this. And I started running and doing very low-key things at that age. Obviously started playing rugby, and being 13 stone at 13 was pretty helpful. Yeah. I could just run hard, and I thought I could enjoy this. So then my why became, I would be better at rugby. I remember when I first started training, I was maybe 14, going to the local gym. Obviously quite big, so I looked 16, so I could do I couldn't do the free weights, but I could do the machine weights. So I'm smashing them, and I remember at the time thinking, my legs are big enough, and I'm not going to worry about training legs. So I just did upper body
The classic
every day,
Yeah.
literally every day. And that kind of became like, my why was, right, I want to change how I look because aesthetically, I just didn't like the way I looked, and then it became rugby based, and most of my why then was that really like playing at a decent level of rugby, I need to be faster, stronger, and then went to university, and then it just hammers that why in now. Like I'm playing sport to a high level, I need to be able to perform, I need to be strong, I need to be this. So my why is centered around that, and then as I've aged. And then when I joined the fire service,
I was going to say your job role's
it's
now a huge
massively
part of
changed it because there is no. I've said it before. In my kind of line of work or any work where it's other people rely on you, and if you have a bad day, someone could die. You can't be fit enough for a job that can kill you. So that's my why. Is that?
Oh, I wish everyone had that mentality though, because
And the other thing is, and then how to like. So for me now, it's like right, okay, I need to be as fit as I can, strong as I can, because mate, I've rescued some big people, and, and they're big, and you're trying to pull them out. You think if I hadn't thought at the age of 16, probably 16, that one day I'm going to be a firefighter, I need to be strong, and kind of bought into some ideology that, oh, you don't have to be strong to be a firefighter, or you don't be strong to this, strong to that. Mate, I wouldn't be able to do some of the stuff. Like, literally, there has been jobs I've been on where it sounds really egotistical to say this. If I wasn't there and wasn't strong as I was, I don't know what other options we would have had. And that's not just me, that's with other firefighters. Like that strength, this is the thing I used to tell people, strength is the cheat code to life. Mate, if you're strong, take the shopping from the car, right?
yeah,
If I don't train, I can maybe take 1 or 2 bags, right? How many trips to the car do you do with shopping?
one.
Exactly that. And that's
It's a personal mission of mine every time.
Exactly.
I'm not going back to that car.
And that is a really small, like, governor, what I say to people. Like, and that's a really easy thing. How many trips to take you? 1 or 2. Right, okay. What do you think limits that?
Yeah.
Wow, my hands aren't quite strong enough. Right, so strength.
Yeah.
The limiting factor for you is strength. Right, okay. If you were stronger, could you do 1 trip? Yeah, I could. Okay, great. So what else in your life could be made better by being stronger? Mate, there is nothing
Yeah.
that cannot be made easier, safer,
Yeah.
more effective from being stronger.
Yeah.
Same as your level of fitness.
Even sitting is made easier, stronger.
100%. That's the why for quite a few people. I've had them sort of start training, and they know they need. I'm getting older. I need to keep in shape. Fantastic, great. So your why is you're basically trying to minimize the effects later in life. Great, but then I say, right, okay, your why should be that you want to make your life as easy as possible and as safe as possible. So no matter what you do, if you work in an office, you're a builder, whatever it may be, if you have like recreational sports, the stronger you are, the fitter you are, the better you'll be.
Yeah.
Everything becomes better. There is no this.
Equally, sorry, jump across you. Take a 50-year-old exec, spends his time on planes or sat at a desk and barely gets enough sleep, right? If he or she, I'm going to stick to he for now, just because of what I'm about to explain. If he could squat 100 kilos,
Yeah,
225 pounds for 10 to 15 reps and could deadlift 120 to 140 or 315 for 6 to 8 reps.
it's a good.
He can do that between his 40s to 50. Like when he gets to 60, 70, he's not going to have an issue getting out of a chair
No, he's not.
or moving.
He's gonna be all right. He
Yeah, unless you do it
maintains that.
safely.
Yeah.
And without risk of injury. Like, you're so right. Muscle is your longevity muscle. Your longevity system, do you know what I mean?
It's all there.
Yeah.
There's this thing now they're studying. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's based upon grip strength. So they said that if the stronger people, as you age, if you get to like the age of, it's like there's a predictive curve to it, and it's like at my age, you have to lift. It was something ridiculous. Like I'd have to be able to hold. I think it was 75 kilograms in each hand for me. It was
Really?
Yeah, it was something
For
like
how long?
I can't remember how long it was now. Maybe it might have been 30 seconds,
I'd struggle.
right? But I was like, I could probably do that.
Yeah.
But-
I remember us going to the gym. Do you remember we went to the grow room?
Yeah,
This is a gym here in the UK in Gloucester and Thornbury. Although it's not that there anymore.
is it gone? It's on the fade out, is it?
some fraudulent activities. I think.
Oh yes. Had a bit of a fire a few years ago as well.
Yeah, you might have gone to
Bit
it.
of a
didn't you?
sneaky
Yeah.
things catch fire in gyms apparently.
Yeah. And what were we doing? Were we pressing like incline dumbbell press or something like that? I can't remember what we were doing. What? No, we were RDLing.
All right,
We were
yes.
doing dumbbell stiff legs. And I'm like, I think I used the 75s. But I wrapped.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
fuck.
I remember this now.
Right, no chance to lift there. And I think you jumped in. You may even did heavier. You either did the 75s or like the 80s or whatever, and just grabbed them like that and just repped them for like 15 reps and just chucked them down, no wraps. I was like, I never felt so emasculated. in my
Sorry,
life.
mate, I never do that.
No, it's fine. But it's an important thing because I remember. I do it now. Ever since I started training, really, maybe a couple of years in, like 17 years old, I've always used wraps.
Really?
The reason being, my limbs grow quicker than anything else.
Yeah.
So like my arms, my buys, and my forearms, they started to take over. So I'd wrap so I could loosen my grip. So particularly when obviously targeting my back muscle, I could just focus on driving them. But it does have consequences. Like now, if I try and shrug with 140,
Yes.
I can do it for 3 reps and then it starts to slip. No, I can't remember what it's called. Hyper something, which basically means I'm a sweaty bastard. And so my hands get clammy.
Hyper sweaty.
Yeah, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
But it's interesting on grips. And let's run through that actually. What for someone sat here right now listening to this, and they're thinking, okay, I'm in my 40s, 50s, I'm not doing that much, what can I do to strength test myself to see where my baseline is at? What would you recommend?
The kind of the 4 things I'd check. Tell you, like if I thought about this the other day. I thought if I had 3 exercises to test someone's strength, right, overall strength, I'd pick a back squat, I'd pick a deadlift, and I'd do a push press. The reason being is that deadlifts obviously posterior chain. It's like 97% of your body's muscles work.
Yeah.
The only thing that doesn't work is probably your intestines during that. Your back squat's just overall lower leg strength, concentric strength, and that one's bearing weight. So how much weight can I bear? Particularly like axial loading, so loading through the spine. I think that's such an important one because most things, say example in life, you'll deadlift it up to a certain point and then you might shoulder it. So right, okay, so if you got a good deadlift and a good back squat, that's a good indicator of how strong you are. And then the push press is again, that's the most. It's combining lower leg and upper body strength, but also
And how connected you are, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, that kinetic chain. And I think I used to say bench press. If I had 4, I'd be like, oh, bench press. This.
Yeah.
But that's just because.
What would you say? Because I imagine there's so many people like this that don't have a gym membership. What could they do
instead of to test your
Because what I like, just to put in my coach, what I would be doing is, and I only say this because I'm sure a lot of people are in a position of they don't like working out. They never like working out. They've not been sporty. They're too busy. They don't have a gym membership. So like, where do they start? Let's give them like absolute baseline. What I would suggest is, how long can you wall sit?
Yes.
Like time a wall sit.
Yeah.
How long can you plank?
Yeah.
Can you do a one-legged squat?
Yeah.
And which is actually
It's really quite hard.
usually often mobility limiting, and I wouldn't expect most people to be able to because I had to work on that because my biomechanics. But if you can, then great.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to try. And then the last one would be maybe how many push-ups can you get out in a set a lot of time?
Yeah, calisthenic routes. I think I'd say, yeah, I'd either say a wall sit. It depends what the level they're at as well. If you've got
I'm talking like baseline.
maybe a wall. If I was going to do calisthenic testing, I'd say, like you said, a squat, like a bodyweight squat, push up, a pull up, and then maybe sit up. Just because the reason why I'd pick them 4 is that there's lots of normative data. I could take what you've scored and your age, throw it into the chart, and see where you come out.
I bet and I'm guessing here. I would hazard a guess based on my experience of coaching as well that maybe 60% of people around the age of 50 who lack the experience and don't train
Yeah.
can't do 1 or 2 pull-ups.
Yeah, I bet. I'd love to see the statistic of how many people can do pull-ups.
Yeah. And then it scares me because through coaching, I see people who come to me in some pretty bad conditions, and some maybe actually physically because of their genetics and the metabolic rate and whatnot, they don't look too bad or they don't eat enough, but they eat bad stuff. But internal health metrics aren't great, strength isn't great, and they're so brittle. And I just think if you were to go do anything under load now,
You might snap.
you might snap in half like a breadstick. Do you know what I mean? And I generally think there's so many people living like that, and the amount of times I'm on coaching calls, and this isn't a knock on, you kind of don't know what you don't know, and if you've never done it,
Yeah,
it
exactly
can be quite
that.
a daunting world to go
Yeah.
into, the world of strength and conditioning and resistance training. But the amount of people who just do cardio, even when did fucking walking become targeted exercise?
Hey, mate, it's very important to walk.
No, it is. I don't want to diminish
I know what
it.
you mean, but that's not...
Mate,
that's
the amount of
rest of
people that say to me
recovery
like, "Oh, yeah, I walk all the time." And don't get me wrong, it is, and
Depends where you walk, how fast you walk.
yeah,
Mate, it's
if there's hills involved and whatnot,
yeah.
you can get your heart rate up. But that's like our baseline movement
Yeah, it is, yeah.
as people. Like we should all walk. What are you doing that's targeted? And most people are like maybe they do the odd bike ride, and they go on the odd run every now and then when they can be bothered, and that's about it. And the other stuff seems alien.
I find it insane, but that's because my bias is of always doing it.
Yeah.
Is that I can't imagine not doing it. So when people don't do anything, I just find it really bizarre. I think I remember speaking to somebody, a lad at work, doesn't really go to the gym, trains at work, but nothing outside of work. I was like, what do you do in the evenings?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? He's like, what would you do? When you finish here now, what do you go and do? He's like, well, go home, watch a bit of telly.
For younger, for the younger generation that don't have all these responsibilities yet, there is no fucking excuse.
There's none, mate. I don't even know what. But the thing is, coming back to the why, my why is so strong that I will find time to train. I just can't.
Yeah, it's not
Mate,
a question.
I just don't know how.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that in the past I've, especially when I was like fresh out of uni, like in the fire service, coaching people alongside, my mindset was probably not very open because I was like, well, everything's go all the time, everything matters, everything's serious. Like I struggled to sometimes comprehend people's circumstances because ultimately, my bad day is going to someone's really bad day. And when someone like, I've got Jackie telling me that, I've had to crumble today, I've had a pack of ginger knob biscuits because I broke a nail. I used to really struggle with that. And it's something definitely, I think as I've aged, as I've kind of calmed down, as my mindset's changed, it's got better to understand. But I used to really, really struggle with that. Because why is that an excuse?
Yeah.
How would you...
I think, sorry to jump across you there, Matt. I as a coach, I think one of the most powerful things you can be in it to really find balance, such a fine balance, because some people are going to respond to the, you fucking lazy prick, go get it done, which I would, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a real skill to be sympathetic.
Yes, it is.
And some people will respond better to that. It's difficult to find the line because at the end of the day, if they're on a journey and they've invested in their health and they're trying to improve, and they give in to a pack of fucking ginger nut biscuits, you're a moron.
Yeah.
But
but
there's times in life where I've been a moron.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
I remember being on my first bodybuilding prep that wasn't the prep for the gym comp.
Yes.
And there was a night I absolutely cracked me. I went through, this is so unhealthy, but I'd walk to get my steps into Aldi. This was before the prep was over. So I was so good. I was like 100% dialed in. And then I would buy all the stuff I know I can't eat and I would hoard it. I had a big chest of drawer full.
Just bought it and kept hold of it.
Just kept hold of it. It was so strange. I lost my head a little bit. This is another subject. This was back when I was quite young. I was living at mum and dad's. This was like the first thing I did. I was in my teens. And one night I was up late. I was building. This is when I did the clothing company, Lift Legacy.
Yes.
And I was building part of the Shopify website. And it was like, I had work in the morning. I had to be up at like 6. It was like 2 a.m. I had to get this website done. I was like, oh, I'm absolutely fucked here. I'm starving. Oh yeah, I've got a whole drawer full of sweets and shit there. So I just opened it, and I had one nibble of something, and that was it.
Yeah,
I was
tidal
gone.
wave
I
came.
was gone, and like that. Technically, it made no difference. I still had a load of runway. Actually, it kind of ironically filled me back out for my session. So
Yeah,
I was
you're
so
ready to go
depleted.
again.
I'd actually been on keto for like crazy time. So it was a blessing, but my mind cracked, and I understand how people can get to that point. Then again, what I was doing was
Yeah,
was
you were
extreme.
one extreme, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not really an excuse, but maybe there's something there. But yeah, again, going to the why, I think maybe we're blessed in the fact that, and I want to get your opinion on this. We built our why. I feel like you have to go through stages with health and fitness. You have to have
Yeah.
like a primary mover, that initial kind of ignition
Yeah.
force. That could be like we discussed, like I fell in love with training. It was a social thing. Then my physique changed, and I went, "Oh my god, I could not be fat anymore. That's cool." And then it was sport, and then over time, because that calcifies as a routine, now it's who I am. And of
Yeah.
course, because of what we do, it's part of our daily life. We practice what we preach. But I couldn't be. I became who I am now as a man,
Yeah.
and I credit so much of that to training, like not going on nights out, and because I wanted to get up and many other reasons, but I wanted to get up and train and
Yeah.
be the best version of myself, and that calcifies over time. How do you do that? And now, I've got a business and I coach, and I've had a little while, and family and responsibilities are growing, but I've already calcified that.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? And this is what we do as coaches, but I want to get your opinion for the people that get to 35 plus and have never done that. And now they're trying to calcify those routines
Yeah.
in a system where they're stressed, they're busy, they've never trained their mind. And if they had half an hour, there's not a chance in how their mind goes, what can I do? I'll tell you what, I get a good fucking calisthenics workout done half an hour, let me bang something out. It's never,
No.
so how,
Never gone that way.
what's your opinion on that? Like, how do you think, and I've got mine, but I want to hear yours, how do you think they can solidify that with the most efficiency possible in the least amount of time in a period where they never did it when they're younger and now their life's pretty hard?
I think it's trying to relate to that, because most of the people we're going to work with have probably solidified their discipline in their work,
Other areas of life, yeah.
and that's got to be the drawing point, I think, because you've got to find the link point, haven't you? Like, you've already done this, you've achieved so much. How did you do that there? Well, I worked extra, I did this, I stayed hours, I did this qualification. Right, great. So you've done all the foundational stuff, haven't you? Yeah. And that's allowed you to open the gate for promotion, or it's given you this experience. And so you kind of like draw the map backwards on something that they can relate to.
Yeah.
And that's, for most people, it's a large part of their life, because that's their driving factor, hence why they've come into us. And they probably reached a stage where it's like, actually, people keep talking about health and fitness and wellness, and I need to do that. So it's then, like I said, linking it back and basically saying that what you achieved, say example, like you've got some work in financing, right? They went to university at 18. I'm like, right, okay, so you went to university, that's your base foundation. You've got your qualification, some experience, right, happy days. So that is basically, we need to do the exact same thing. So your degree took you 3 years. We're going to try to give you a degree, like the degree time, in about 6, 7 weeks, 8
Crash
weeks.
course.
Crash course on this is how it's going to be. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be not really hard. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be different to what you've already experienced. But you need to look at the next 8 weeks as that degree.
Yeah.
We've got to level a foundation for you. We're going to find out how you work, how you move, what you want. And from that 8 weeks, we'll try and find that why.
Yeah.
Because initially, and you put the same experience, most people, I want to look better. Easy, right? Okay, we can do that. Let's try and quantify what look better means. Do you mean you want to lose body fat? Do you want to put muscle mass on? Because we need to gauge where you're at. And once we've figured that out, the next 8 weeks, we'll like I said, we'll set this foundation. And I think that conversation from the 8 weeks onwards, that person's hopefully got used to training, start to enjoy the session, start to see the benefit. And most people I train, that they say, oh, I work really hard, I'm tired a lot of the time. I said, the best thing to combat tiredness is movement.
Go and expend, my
Go
friend.
and run
get out
around,
there.
get that blood flow into your brain. Like there's
Yeah.
so much research. Rhonda Patrick, she's got quite a bit on an exercise. She had a child. And she said,
She's brilliant.
she's fantastic, and she's got loads of stuff out there. So she's like, oh, I slept for like 4 hours, felt terrible, exercised, felt great.
Yeah.
And she was looking at all the blood glucose levels primarily, but basically she was saying that poor sleep, exercise, basically your brain, the activity in your brain looks like you've had 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
So I was like, you might feel like you don't want to do something, but let's do it.
Yeah.
And see where you're at. And doing them the difficult points of I don't feel like doing it, but I did it. It starts to build them the fuel, like the Goggins thing.
And it's fortitude. You start to understand, okay, I did
strength.
something I didn't feel like doing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I feel good about it, and it becomes easy to do again.
Yeah.
There's a cross section between those two lines. I think a lot of people get stuck, like a huge portion of people that I'm coaching right now, and mainly actually in APAC regions and Singapore and things, their system and their structure work. They'll start quite early because they work cross time zone.
Yeah.
They'll work till like 6, whatever. They'll have their dinner and see their kids. Then they'll start work at like 8:30, 9 and go through to 11 again.
Wow.
So they've got kind of like 2 shifts because of when they get up, when they go to sleep, winding down after calls, their sleep is compromised. And so the logic, their mind is like, well, I'm not sleeping. I'm pretty much always in burnout. So I want to take the sleep over the workout.
Yeah, which is...
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You kind of need to front the load. Like if you want to see the change and see the result, now no, fuck that. Let's go and work out.
Yeah.
Let's build the fortitude. Let's get you feeling better. There is a point in which you have to be strategic and manage their recovery, their internal health markers, because over time, if you push with no release, you're gonna, well, exactly that. You'll be burnt out, and it's weird how burnout presents. Like for me, burnout usually starts presenting as a little bit of chemical change in the body. The way I perceive the world around me changes. I'm a little bit more negative, frustrated, less stress resilient, and you could put that down to a million things before you would say I'm just burnt out because I'm pushing too hard. So it's, that cross section is interesting. I think what people have to understand is what they're doing right now, whether it's nothing or whether it's some walks, the odd run every now and then or whatever, isn't good enough for where you're going to be in the next 5 years.
Yeah,
because we have to come. Exactly. Yeah, for what you want as well. But let's say they don't have a huge desire to change massively. All of our health is deteriorating.
Yeah.
We're fighting, we're on a downward slope.
Yeah.
How do we stick our ski spikes in and slow that down as much as possible? So you have to be bettering yourself and improving and looking for ways to do that. Then you stack on top of that, well, maybe they're in a position they don't want and they need to change that and want to change that. That really should be enough. In my opinion,
I agree with you.
That should be enough to overcome the days in which you don't really feel like it. And as you said, I think your why changes, and I've seen this so many times in coaching, people who don't really have a why and they hate trying. I think of one now, Michael. I won't say his last name, but he'll know when he listens to this who he is. I know he will. And he said to me, like, I just don't like exercise.
Yeah.
Don't like training. I don't think I never will. I need help with that because I know I need to do it. I remember I programmed a run for him and he literally told me to fuck off. Sent me, I think it was a voice note, I can't remember. And as a coach, I remember thinking, well, I don't think I've ever had that before. What do I do now? Do I go, okay?
What's the response?
Yeah, I was kind of like, it was actually a test of my mind as well. I was like, what do I do? Do I capitulate and say, do you know what? Okay, let's make it a little bit easier for you. Let's do it. And in the end, I just said, do you know what? Suck it up.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it. And now honestly, he's completely transformed. He's in the US. He's a brilliant guy. And his wife's actually now joined the program, which is really, really cool. He loves working out. It's part of who he is. His shape, I'll show you his transformation after this. From where he was to where he is now he's almost got like an athlete's physique.
Really?
Yeah, and he was a little bit of how can I say nicely? A little bit of a pudding before he started.
Yeah.
Just like soft, Tally didn't really exercise. Not like morbidly obese or anything like that, but you could tell that didn't eat a ton, but the nutritional sources were pretty poor. Drinking a little too much, kind of. And now, honestly, his physique, mate, is incredible. Like I look at it sometimes, and think, fuck, that's better than mine. I must have done a good job there. But he now, like, he can't not train. it's just it's incredible to see. And you see, he couldn't not run.
Yeah.
He's like, the run for me is like such a mental release, and I've come so far in it. And he's talking about doing events and stuff. His why is completely shifted from the start. Was like, my why is, I know I need to change. I just don't know how, and I'm frustrated, and
Yeah.
I don't really trust this will work, but I kind of need to do something. So his why was this need to change, but not really wanting to and understanding how. Now his why is, look at the fucking
Look what I've
person
done.
I've become. And is confident. He's CEO, so he runs a company. His wife, I'm sure is extremely thankful for his shift, but how his daughter sees him, like, you can't put a price on those things. So now his why is more exponential. Is like, well, like, he's now achieved his, or is achieving his. It's an ongoing battle, but it's potential. And so that's fuel. But it's the Lego or the bridge that gets someone from that first bit to the second bit. You've got to put in the work when it sucks.
Yeah,
I can't emphasize that enough.
And I think this you can't. I often thought, like, okay, how would you bridge that gap? But I don't think there is. You can't
Suck it up and do the work.
And that's the thing. I think people either they have enough inertia from the conversations you have with them, the ball starts rolling, and as a coach, them early days is to try and keep it going.
Yeah.
But like I said in the past, like, I can't do it for you. I can give you all the tools, all the programming, all the advice, everything, but I can't do this.
This
for
isn't
you.
marketing. We're not, you can't be an agency that says, done for you, we'll run your ads and your social posts and we'll take 10% on top. This is your own health. And it doesn't matter whether, you're investing time and money. What we will do for you. So this really sounds like an ad campaign now, isn't it? But
it's true,
in
it
essence,
is.
what we will do is fast track that process, teach you things that you will never learn yourself, not just about health and fitness and the science and the data and the detail, but about you, how their body responds to training, to nutrition, to rest and recovery. What does that plan need to look like? I've got a client who resides in Singapore. He spends 3 days a month in Singapore. He's traveling the rest.
Wow.
So how do you piece that together? How do you build a system around that? How do you make sure when you travel, you don't just capitulate, then you get back and you're trying to chase your tail, which is what a lot of people do. But we will show you, I think we used this analogy last time talking about Everest and base camp and stuff, but you wouldn't just rock up to Everest on a Monday and climb it yourself. Like, you get climatized, you have to pay large sums of money, the Sherpas will show you the best route. You will still take the steps. I think that's so important to understand. But going back to building the why, you're absolutely spot on. There isn't a better bridge than fucking doing it and trusting the process.
And it's trust.
Yeah.
I think we said about before about people, at the very start, we said about people don't trust themselves. And that's quite an interesting thing. I started thinking, how many people have I met that
I had
like
it just
that?
then. I had it just then on that call.
What a bizarre thing. I the same thing, like, funny enough, at work last night, we're talking about CrossFit. And one of the lads on watch, he was like, you do CrossFit, would you recommend it? I was like, yeah, I'd recommend it. He's like, but is it not intimidating?
Who does CrossFit and wouldn't recommend it?
Well, yeah, mate, it's part of my discount code. Is no. But it was quite an interesting conversation because and you might have had this with Charlie a few times. I've definitely had it with Zoe, where she said to me, like, me and you could probably walk into any gym in the UK, crack on, not worry about it, right? Zoe was saying she walks into a gym, she thinks about who's in there, what's she going to do, how many people are they in the squat rack?
Yeah.
There's all these factors that I 100% take for granted.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned, like, right, okay, I would go to a gym that's empty because I haven't got time to sit and wait and watch like David do bicep curls in the squat rack. I haven't got time for that. I haven't got time for someone to put their like tripod stand up and film 10 sets. Like, I need to get in, get out. But we're talking about CrossFit specifically. And he was like, is it not intimidating? I was like, what? He's like, it's not intimidating. I was like, not really. Then I thought, hang a second here. I've trained since I was 14.
Yeah, that's
I
the
did
thing.
sports science at college where I got taught how to train. Then I did strength and conditioning at university. I do technical models and stuff. I'm thinking, right.
Yeah.
My bias here
100%.
is it's easy. And I thought, most people, it's just, and because the way I am, I suppose, I just throw myself into it, and it's a physical thing, and I see myself as being physically very capable. I just get on with it.
Yeah.
But lots of people out there, that's a bridge too far.
yeah, and I know you've had to work at it, but also you are a man mountain in incredible shape. You look like an athlete. Imagine if you were, you know,
Mr. Pudding. Yeah,
Mr.
mate.
Puddin.
It's
Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
so again, it's easy to take that for granted. Mr. Puddin sounds so derogatory, but you
Yeah,
know
it
what I
does.
mean.
It's not great,
Um,
but
but yeah, so again, going back to what I was saying on that call, the trust thing is such a big point. Again, because they've never anything they've tried hasn't really
yeah,
worked. Whether it's because it wasn't designed around their life, didn't really understand them, demanded too much, or just the accountability wasn't there, or the application wasn't there at all. That they've got so much distrust in themselves.
yeah,
So he basically said to me on that call, he was like, love the solution, looks great, transformations look great. I guess I just need to understand if I can extract the most out of this. And he had openly said he's on medication for diabetes. And he was like, I need to change. This isn't a
yeah,
question of like if or why. My doctor has said I can get off it, but I need to lose a ton of weight to get off it, etc.,
yeah,
etc. I need to change. I want to change. I've tried a few things. It never worked. He listed the things that he's tried. They're never going to work for him because one was in person. He travels 3 weeks of a month.
yeah,
One was a nutrition plan, but it got him eating a Western diet and he's Indian.
yeah. Ain't
And I
gonna
was
work.
like, well, blanket, never going to work.
Yeah,
So, but his reasoning for like not, the thing he was questioning the most, and I can hear it in his voice, was like, I just don't trust that I can go through this and I want it to be worth the investment. I don't know if I can do that. And that level of distrust in yourself or self-limiting belief,
yeah.
allowing that to hold you back, that's not a mentality you can have in any aspect of life.
No,
You
it's
have to,
crippling.
yeah. If your decision making for not doing something is, don't really trust myself to be able to do that, you're just holding yourself back because
Yeah,
your mind's going, that feels a little bit uncomfortable to make that decision. So let me just put a barrier
yeah. And hold back
in
from
the
that.
way. Yeah, so I bet there's so many people sat out there right now. I actually had a guy last week, brilliant guy, on a call. Going back to the gym thing, I'm bouncing around a little bit here, but he said to me, he was like, yeah, I don't really have a gym machine. I'm not, fucking those gyms, everyone's worried about what they look more than what they're doing and mirrors and stuff. And I actually said to him, I was like, well, bit of a sweeping statement,
Yeah,
if you, in a lot of gyms, a lot of people are doing targeted work and good work and they're working to be healthier. You
yeah,
can't, just because there's one guy, David, in
yeah.
this in the squat rack doing
Squat rack, mate.
bicep curls. Do you know what I mean? You can't blanket everyone with that, but that was his solidified perception of
Yeah,
anyone
what
that
it's gonna
goes to
be.
a gym.
That's probably based out of insecurity,
Oh, 100%.
and that's the.
Yeah.
And I think coming back to the trust thing, I was just thinking now, like how would you explain to somebody developing that trust? And I'd say like when you get into a relationship with somebody, right, you don't know who they are really. You might be attracted to them, they're attracted to you, but you don't really know the type of person they are.
Yeah.
But guess what? Over time, you meet them more often, go on dates, you spend more time with them, you
the
start to
groundwork
develop
in.
it.
Yeah.
Exact same thing with training
Yeah.
and the lifestyle change. At the start, oh, this is kind of exciting. The end goal looks really great, but it's all new. You've got to trust the process. Like we said before, it's
People want
really
here and now.
easy to say this side, but it's exactly the same thing. You
We'll
just
say
gotta,
this side, we've done it though.
yeah,
We've all been there, like embracing.
uncertainty.
Yeah, I still do. Honestly, mate, I still do. And obviously, I know I've calcified some of the habits now, but I understand how hard it is. Like, obviously, now we've had Luca and growing the business. Right now, we're trying to move house, which has been stressful. There's been a load of stuff going on. There's never a question of whether I'm getting the workout done, but my inner voice still plays tricks on me. It's like, oh, mate, you're fucking tired. Luca didn't sleep last night, so just
Yeah,
maybe just take a. And that inner voice never goes away. I think that's important. I think people are seeking a quick fix, crazy quick results, which is why probably Ozempic's blowing up. That's another.
that's a
That's
conversation we're having in a
yeah,
second.
we'll save that for another pod maybe. And then they want that flick of the switch from like someone who internally doesn't want to work out and doesn't want to eat their veg and their fruit or their protein or whatever it is, and overnight be completely transformed. Can't wait to work out. That is
That's
just
a-
not life. You're never going to be that. Do you know what I mean?
And if anyone promises you that is the real thing, they are lying to you
Yeah.
because it does not
Run
happen
a
that well.
country fucking mile. It's constant work. that why is always going to shift, and
Yeah.
it's important that it shifts, because the why, I'll always say, going back to, and maybe this is potentially a nice way for us to wrap up, going back to what we discussed right at the start of your why and why they do things. Your why, I see that it at least as like a rocket, a booster on a
Yeah.
spaceship, or look at what Elon's doing, landing them back now. But it will get you so far, and then something else needs to engage.
Yeah.
And if you can get yourself out of the atmosphere into zero gravity,
You can see how much there
the
is.
momentum will propel
Yeah.
you. Like you'll float and you'll find your way, but you've unlocked that. Gravity is like that pull. See, that gravity is that inner voice that's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's such a slog and it's hard and tired. And once you've put in the groundwork, you get to out of the atmosphere and it's light and it feels easy and it's ingrained
Yeah.
within your life. That why is the rocket booster that will get you out of the Earth's atmosphere, in this strange metaphor that I'm trying to align you with. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, but going on with that, I think you're right. The why does change, and your why's got to be strong enough to get going. And I think there's no better why than if I don't change, I'll die. That sounds really cool. If I don't change,
Yeah.
my life's gonna drastically change
Yeah.
for the negative. And I think that's a really positive why. And the other important thing is, like we said, the why changes, and it should change. Like you said, as we gain new goals, as we achieve that initial why, it will change. Because all of a sudden, like Couch to 5K, I think
Yeah.
of that. I want to start running. Why? Because it's something, it keeps you healthy. It's really good for you. So you start going, that's your why. You do 5K, think, right, okay, actually, I quite like to do 10K. And that then moves it on. But
Yeah.
the key part of that why changes. All of a sudden, actually, I enjoy this. I want to be better at this. Great. But it's the self-reflection. That's the fuel. We said about the boosters that, right, okay, I've reached this why, or I've reached my goal. What's the next one?
Yeah.
Well, in order to get there, if I look back at how far I've come, there's my fuel.
Yeah.
And that
I
then
didn't
propels
perceive I
me.
could do 5K in under 30 minutes, and now I've done it. Well, now my mind goes, well, I
What
could
else
probably
would I
do 10K.
Yeah.
I've done 5, so it's only doubles. But you've got to do the do to experience
Exactly.
that. And equally important to remember, if you're in a position to afford a gym membership or a nice pair of running shoes or get some supplements, you don't have any life limiting injuries and whatnot. If you're in a position to work out, do not take that for fucking
Oh,
granted.
mate.
Because there are millions and billions of people that can't.
Yeah, and they'd love to.
Yeah.
And that's another strong thing for why I can remember I kind of had a little bit of a poorly knee, right, about a few weeks ago. Really upset. Thinking, oh, my knee hurts. I can't go and squat. I can't do this. Can't do that. And this is a bit of a weird tangent here, but my great uncle used to talk about silver linings. There's always silver linings in life. No matter how bleak things get, there's always a positive to take out of something, right? So I'm all upset, my knees sore, like in between nights, tired. I think, oh gosh, I want to go to the gym, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I can't. It's so unfair. Go past a bloke that's in a wheelchair, right? And he's just pushing along and real happy, just chilling, right? And I sat there and I thought, I've got nothing to complain about now.
Yeah.
Like that dude, maybe he's never known anything different. Maybe he does, but he's just out by himself, happy as Larry. You know, obviously my perception is there's no cares in the world, but I just thought, what am I complaining about?
Yeah.
I've got, like you said, I've got the absolute lottery of being able to have 2 arms, 2 legs, everything functions as well as it could do. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go do
Exactly.
something. And
Yeah.
I think that's, if nothing else, how lucky you are to have all that.
Yeah.
Do not let that go to waste.
Yeah, 100%. And if you are a leader in any facet, we're all leaders. Like whether that's leading a family, like
Leading
hopefully
yourself.
leading ourselves, more importantly, like leading teams within business. Think about perception of you. Then there's no greater perception than how you perceive yourself.
Massively.
That's one of the biggest things that will power you through life. If you perceive yourself as this slob who can't take action in their health, doesn't have the discipline,
Yeah.
that leaks into everything else.
Massively.
Your frequency, your energy, equally how other people see you. Let them see someone who, if nothing else, has their shit together for their
Yeah.
health. Like, if you're blessed to have it at the moment, work on it, improve it. show your family and tell your family the importance of it. Invest time, invest energy, invest money into it, and it'll pay back in dividends greater than any bloody stock can. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
So,
the people that the deathbed confessions to say, I wish I'd done more things.
yeah,
I wish I spent less time working. I wish there's all these different things they say they'd ask for, and the one they ask for is time.
yeah,
And maybe we've got plenty of time if you want to find it. And the way you get more time is by spending your time wisely,
yeah,
ensuring your body functions as best as it can.
yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. Good
Pleasure as
episode, mate.
always.
Thank you very much for watching, listening. Please remember to subscribe. God, we're new to this, aren't we?
Like, subscribe,
Like,
my
subscribe.
YouTube channel.
Yeah. Turn on the notification bell. Drop a comment on the episode. Again, if there's any things you want us to discuss, topics you want us to discuss, health and fitness wise, don't take us on some weird tangents, please.
Yeah, do it. Why not?
So yeah, drop a comment below, but appreciate you watching. We will see you in the next one. Cheers.